Are you ready to go, Soph?
Yeah.
The car has to be unlocked, otherwise you can't unplug it. It's kind of half raining, half snowing. Anyway, I've got to go grab Jasper from preschool, and Soph's going to the post office. But what I wanted to talk about was the amazing progress that EVs have made since I started driving them, which was only just coming up to 5 years ago, I guess. 2.5 years in a Nissan Leaf and 2.5 years in a Tesla. Total distance covered about 100,000 miles. So I can now kind of claim that I've got some proper experience with EVs, I think.
Oh.
It's a bit nippy, isn't it, Soph?
Yes.
Right, let's get cracking.
Daddy's going to bring to my monster truck picture on a chair.
On the chair?
You mean on the printer?
No, on a chair.
What do you mean on the chair?
He's going to print it on the chair. On the chair. On his chair.
On his chair? What, he's going to sit on his chair and print it?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
He's desperate for me to print him a monster truck picture. I don't know if he's going to stick it on his wall or just stare at it lovingly for hours. Probably the latter.
It's going to
Yeah,
come
it comes
out
out of the printer.
Hello,
Righty. Let's have a quick look. See any you like? Which ones do you want?
I want Devastator.
New inks required.
Wow, look at monster truck picture and that monster truck picture.
So this is the Devastator one.
Yeah,
This one is Bigfoot.
yeah,
And this one is Zombie. Do you
yeah.
want me to take them down for you?
Yeah, so Mummy can stick it on. Mummy, look!
He's so cute. You wouldn't believe how much he loves monster trucks. You really, it's almost pathological. Just checking out the low light performance on this Canon 70D. It's not going to be fantastic though, because there's like, one second. That should be a little bit better. I've come out to the summer house because it's time to get my video up into the sky. I really do want to use this Canon 70D more. I don't use it as much as I used to, principally because it'll only shoot at 30 frames per second in 1080p, and I've been doing most of my stuff in 60 frames per second recently. But you know what? I think I'm going to drop it back down to 30 so I can use this camera a little bit more. One other thing, this camera is extremely good exercise, really works the old arm. I need all the exercise I can get at the moment, courtesy of the half marathon I'll be running in like 5 weeks. Oh my word, I'm so behind on my training, like you wouldn't believe. So heavy cameras, that's a plus. I didn't want to talk about cameras today, it's just purely incidental. What I wanted to talk about was the distance that electric vehicles have managed to cover in the 4 years that I've been driving them. When I started out with my Nissan Leaf, very much an experimental car. I mean, I actually remember driving back from the dealership and it was only 30 miles or so, and the car wasn't fully charged when I picked it up. So by the time I got home, I was down below 50%, and I was thinking to myself, oh my word, what have I done? I must be nuts. And then the first journey I did in my brand new Nissan Leaf was, and this is like literally the next day, I drove it up to my parents' house, which was a good 80 miles away, and it was about -2 degrees outside. Obviously I charged it 100%. I drove on the back road at about 30 miles an hour with the heating off, because with the heating on there was absolutely no way I would stand any chance of doing that journey. Soph almost divorced me following that, because she was actually pregnant, it was like 3 or 4 months pregnant with Jasper at the time. It was so cold that the inside of the car, there was ice forming on the windscreen. And every now and again, I'd put the heater on just long enough to demist the windscreen, which wasn't great because that wasn't long enough to actually pump any warm air into the car. It would just sort of blow cold air at us and then turn off. It was quite an experience, and I don't think Sophie's ever fully forgiven me for that. Yeah. That's probably why she's a bit hesitant to have a low range EV. I can understand that hesitation. The next significant journey I did was a drive to Newquay from where we live in Essex. It took us about 14 hours. I mean, it is a long way. It's about 350 miles, I think, something like that. But at that point, there was still only one motorway service station quick charger. So we had to drive between all the Nissan dealerships, which was quite stressful because their quick chargers weren't always working, which is a recurring theme. And of course, a dealership closes, and once it's closed, you can't use their charger. So time and planning was a real exercise. But we got there. The hotel had a plug that we could plug into, so we had plenty of power when we were around the area in Newquay. And all in all, it was a fun journey, but a long one. It was a definite sort of 12, 14 hours. So what happened was, over the next year, a whole plethora of service station quick chargers started to be installed, basically by Ecotricity. I don't think anyone else, nobody else did. And that really transformed that car for me. It turned it from being a car that was very difficult to drive long distances into one that took a while to drive long distances, but it wasn't difficult. Once the motorway service stations almost all had quick chargers, then we could really try our hand at slightly longer journeys. We went up to Scotland a good couple of times in this Nissan Leaf. I went up once with Soph, and I went up a second time with my brother. On both occasions, it took about 14 hours to get all the way up there, because there was only ever one quick charger at each motorway service station, so I wanted to basically stop at every one, so that the battery was never so low that if I got to one and it wasn't working, I wouldn't be able to make it to the next one, which of course would have been a game over mistake. That was all rather fun. And as time has gone on, now we have 2 or 3 sometimes quick chargers at each motorway service station. We have entire Tesla DC quick charging network out there, the superchargers, and they actually are amazingly reliable. And the motorway service stations are now much, much more reliable. I haven't seen a non-working quick charger for a while now. Although, admittedly, I don't use them as often as I used to. Battery ranges have dramatically increased. Nissan have just announced that they're not going to bother selling the 24 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf anymore. It's just the 30 from now on. And you've got the Hyundai Ioniq with 28 kilowatt hours of usable capacity, which probably makes it about 30 kilowatts, 31 kilowatts in terms of total capacity. You've got the Renault Zoe with its new 41 kilowatt hour battery. That's pretty sweet. You've got the new BMW i3 with either a range extender or not, and the battery's good for at least 100 miles plus. You actually get a bit more if you don't have that petrol backup, because there's obviously less weight and a more efficient heater as well. There are lots of choices out there, choices that just didn't exist. When I came to buy an electric vehicle, you had the Citroen C0, the Peugeot Ion, and the Mitsubishi i-MiEV. Basically, there were only one alternative to the Nissan Leaf at that point, other than the Tesla Roadster, of course, which was a whole different ballgame. Firstly, it was totally impractical. Secondly, there were very limited production numbers. And thirdly, it cost a huge amount of money. We're not talking about 2 decades here. These aren't stories from when I was a child driving around with my parents. These are stories from just 4 years ago. So imagine what it's going to be like in another 4 years. I will be absolutely amazed if the Nissan Leaf price range of electric vehicles isn't basically just stacked out with 200 mile plus cars capable of quick charging at phenomenal rates. Unfortunately, I don't think they're actually going to be replacing the quick chargers that are in the networks at the moment anything like as quickly as we would like. The Ecotricity ones, they max out at 40 kilowatts, 41 kilowatts. But that is the absolute tops if you're not in a Tesla and you want to charge at a motorway service station. That's something that's definitely going to have to change. I think I have waffled on long enough. My fingers are freezing. This room is unbelievably chilly. I can't wait for summertime, and I need to really do something about the insulation, because at the moment it's just a little bit of thin wood, which means that if I do turn the heater on, the heat just disappears straight out. So maybe some kind of styrofoam filling or specific insulation filling perhaps, and then sort of board it into the walls and ceiling. That's what we need. And then maybe next winter I won't have to totally abandon my summer house for 6 months of the year. Well, I can't totally abandon it because of course I have to use it to upload my vlog posts. Otherwise I'd still be uploading it in about 8 hours time and it wouldn't be today's vlog post, it'd be tomorrow's. Anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed today's video. If you have, remember to like it, share it and subscribe if you haven't already, and follow me on Instagram if you haven't already. And I will see you tomorrow for the next instalment of my daily vlog. Bye. Oh my goodness me. I'm so cold, my hands are literally killing me. 47 minutes to go. Got ages to wait.